call this meeting to order on August 13th, 2019. Welcome everyone tonight. We're going to get started tonight with roll call.
Commissioner Abraham?
Present.
Commissioner McElroy?
Present.
Commissioner Watkins?
Present.
Commissioner Wilson?
Present.
Mayor Harless?
Present. In last meeting, we actually talked about how we're going to have rotating spiritual leaders come and pray for us on our invocation. And tonight we have Nathan Joyce here from Heartland Worship Center to lead us in prayer. Will you all stand with us, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Our gracious God, we step into a moment of being present with you in the midst of busyness and noise all around us. And just want to say how grateful I am that you're the kind of God that is always present with us. And through good times and through bad times and joyful times and difficult times. And God, we pray for today our leaders. We pray, God, for great grace and for great wisdom. We pray for our city today, asking God that you would not only protect us, but that you would walk with us in ways that we would not only, God, seek truth and seek wisdom, but God, that we would do so with one another in loving our neighbor in ways that are valuing to one another, God, that we would treat the people you've created as treasure. That because they've been made in your image. And so, God, we acknowledge that sometimes we think that all things have either taken place or been accomplished by our own hand, and yet we do acknowledge that there are forces and challenges and there are blessings that are needed that are outside of our hands. So we stop and we pray and we look to you. God, I pray that as a Christian, I pray that our Christian witness would truly reflect the character of your Son Jesus and those of us who represent you, and we desire, God, to not only know you, but to walk with you. And we pray, God, just that you would lead us in every way and with wisdom beyond our own. We pray all this in the name of Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. If you'll remain standing and join us in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. You may be seated. I want to take a moment before we move on just to go back to the invocation for a minute, and thank you again, Nathan, for being here tonight. Last week we kind of threw this new approach on to all of you and on the commission or on the community as well, and this is something we've been discussing for several months actually, and some of the commissioners up here and I have been talking about. We did make the first choices just so the community is aware of the people who would come and lead us in prayer based on what's the interfaith group that's here locally, and Nathan's a member of that. The Imam from the Islamic Center is a member of that. Also, Laurie Ballou, who will be here next meeting from Temporal Israel, is a part of that group. So my thought was, let's start with the group that is the interfaith group, and then as we move forward, we have a long list of spiritual leaders in our community who will be asked to come and lead us in the invocation. So just wanted to clear that up and clarify what our goal is here so we can all be on the same page. All right, moving forward, City Manager, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda tonight?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have a special employee introduction tonight. I think our Planning Director, Tamara Tracy, will be introducing us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioners, a couple of years ago when I arrived, I, without hyperbole, said I had a team of thoroughbreds. And I'd like to think that I've only added to that stable. But I know tonight I'd like to introduce you to the newest thoroughbred. Her name is Catherine Byers. Here she is, of course. And she is a very unique and special person that I think is going to be especially successful in this particular role of business development specialist, because she is calm but dynamic. She's patient and intelligent, and she is very attentive to the details. And these are the qualities that I think are going to be particularly applicable for this particular role. She's only 5 years out of college, and yet her experiences with her family's business, with Paducah Life, and a couple other, give her some experiences to the small business world as well as to the larger business world. And I'm very excited about this edition, and I know you are going to be hearing from her a lot. So if you have any questions, I'm sure she would entertain some.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
She's also very well spoken. She represented the city today at a ribbon cutting. So
Oh, great. Thank
Yep.
you for that.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And that's something I'll be present at all the ribbon cuttings that I'm able to make. So
Excellent.
Yes.
Wow. Well, welcome aboard. We're happy
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you all. All right, we also have a presentation tonight, and actually, Bradley James is going to be giving. Come on up if you want to. This presentation regarding Partake in Paducah and their economic development efforts. I looked around the room and didn't see Jonas, so I panicked. But I know you're the guy for the job, so.
Well, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Today, I wanted to speak on the platform of Partake in Paducah. For a raise of hands out here, anyone familiar with that platform, Partake in Paducah? Okay, cool. See, that's part of my job, right? Just to make sure that we all know. So today I want to just discuss some of the efforts of what we're trying to do, sharing the vision with Partake in Paducah, the platform in which has been really a grassroots movement in terms of the community latching on and really taking this by the horns into something that, quite honestly, we probably didn't see happening as fast as it has. And so with that, I just want to share a little bit of the story, some of our missions and goals, and if there's any questions afterwards, I'll be happy to speak with you on that. So not long ago, I think some of you might be familiar with the Forward Paducah plan that came as of some of the work from Avalanche Consulting that came in recently. And they had shared a strategic plan in which really addressed the challenges that we're trying to face with economic growth and what we can do to see the cities prosper. With that, this just gives a few of the steps that came from this research. It's a pretty lengthy case study that they did, but it was one that was very informative in terms of how we can move forward as a city, one that is more of a unified approach. And as you can see, without going too far into it, you can see on step 5 of telling your story. And that part right there, let me scoot this back, basically says Greater Paducah has a unified brand that is embraced by its residents and compels others to invest in the community. Well, with that, there were some things that needed to come with it. So we understood that we needed to have a brand that was unified in which everyone felt that they had vested interest in, felt that everyone could see the commitment in which all together we can see not a slice of the pie grow, but the pie overall grow so that we all could benefit from that. And so building a unified brand in that sense led us to tactic 2, to where we needed to raise awareness of expanding career and lifestyle amenities in Greater Paducah through a more robust economic development website. Well, at that point in time, we wasn't really aware of what the lady by the name of Carrie Bonner was getting ready to do. This is a young lady who recently relocated to the Paducah area. She had traveled throughout the country to several places as her husband was in the military. So she went from one city to the next, one town to the next. Well, at this random place called Paducah, Kentucky, she felt something in her to say, I want to share my story and what I'm seeing in this unique community to my friends and families across the country. And then that came to be Partake in Paducah. She started with a simple hashtag on Instagram, and it basically said this: join in as we celebrate our city, as we take pride in our home and welcome visitors from afar, as we document and share the beauty, charm, and vibrancy found here in Western Kentucky. That was the first time the hashtag of Partake in Paducah was used. At that point is when the life took on its own. And now looking back at that case study, we smile at it now because Partake in Paducah defines that very step in telling your story. Having that unified brand that will highlight the lifestyle, the career placements that we have, and really in a way possibly break the narrative to what any assumptions people may have about a small town in Western Kentucky. Now, at the time, We have now gotten to about 10,000 followers total here in terms of the demographics that we have, mostly of women, 68%, 32% men. That was something that stood out to us. So at the point in time to where Kerry Bonner had to then relocate again, there was a point in time to where our president of Socially Present was looking into it, and it was Jonas Niehoff, and was really intrigued by the grassroots movement that was happening. He was seeing the hashtag usage grow. He was seeing the good photography and the storytelling that she was having, and quite honestly felt that that was something that should be continued. And so after some discussions with her and sitting down with the team at Socially Present, a small team that we have at the creative marketing agency in the Coke plant there, it was then decided that the team was going to take on this tall task to see what we can do to keep this going, because there was a connection between Step 5 and Forward Paducah and this platform that was budding in the community. At that point in time, it was in March of 2018, last year, when we relaunched it after acquiring the brand in December of 2017. So it went into an incubator process. We got some things together, got the branding and logo, in which came to the brand that you see today in Partake in Paducah. I like to think that Partake in Paducah is a very adaptive brand. Everything that you might have seen in our content, anything that comes from the website, social media, and any of our platforms that come from discussions from people in the community. How can we use this platform to better the situation in your field, in your industry, in your sector business, in your sector business? And it was in those conversations when we sat down with several of the top employers in the area and asked them some of the challenges that they had, and it came down to two simple things. You're trying to acquire talent to fill some of these roles with a lot of vacant jobs that we had sitting here, good paying jobs. But these companies were finding that the challenge was not only selling the talent or the prospect on the company and the position, but they found that it was on the narrative of Paducah, selling them on the community of Paducah. And that was something that stood with us in a sense that we felt that one of the few missions that we have here is not to really try to break the narrative of being a sleepy, slow river town as people might see, but to highlight some of the vibrancy, some of the lifestyle, some of the nightlife, some of the activities, and really the plethora of things that you can do in a community this size, which in this case here gave us a great opportunity not to only highlight that, but then to try to show the natural resources that we have that gives this community the advantages that are sitting right here in front of us. And so you see the different colors, as you'll notice there on the arrow there, it goes to the left as that represents Western Kentucky in the Partake in Paducah logo. And as you can see the different colors, as I mentioned before, it's an adaptive brand. We wanted this to be a brand that takes on its environment. And I think that is the best way to explain the work that we've done, because it's through these conversations how we found to target and articulate some of the messaging that needs to be out into the community. So for me personally, I feel that Partake in Paducah has two sides to it. For the community members within Paducah, I see this as being a very informative platform. And I might have mentioned this to a few people already. I've noticed here, being a Paducah native, growing up here, that there has been an awareness issue that I've noticed. I've grown up here all my life, and there's been several doors that I've driven by and rode past, and several buildings that I've seen all my life, but never really knew exactly what those walls entailed. I feel that Partake in Paducah could be a way for those community members here to be an informative piece to let them know what is available, what is accessible, what things that we have, to make them realize that actually Paducah may not be as small as they thought after all. That's been an experience that I've been the pleasure of witnessing since I relocated back 4 years ago. I can't say that I was not in the choir of people that said the things Paducah didn't have and what Paducah needed to do, and I was in that. Matter of fact, I might have been the choir director of that, right? But I've since learned, since coming back, that it's more about partaking. It's about the action. So if it's in the sense of awareness of you possibly not knowing anything at all, then that's fine. But there's also an issue of people not necessarily being comfortable to take on that new experience because of certain people go here or certain people do this. Our goal is to be sure that we can unify and bridge those gaps and give them the information that they need, that these things are available and accessible. And then for those people outside of the community, which is the bigger mission, we want to introduce Paducah to the world. We want to introduce Paducah to as many people as we can to show the great things that are happening here. And so with that, that leads to a lot of the things that you might see on social media with our city-branded social media accounts with Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, we are now approaching a little under 15,000 there. It's actually a little bit more than we have there. And then on Facebook, on that hashtag usage on Instagram alone, we're near 75,000. Now, when I started, I think we were in the 30s, and this was in August of 2018. And then I was able to see us crack the 50,000 mark. And now we're getting ready to hit the 75K. This shows here that the community is aware of some of the things that we're doing, that they see that I want you to partake in my story. I want you to see those things. And so as we go into Facebook, we actually started with the brand here with Facebook only having about 1,000. The platform on the Facebook side really wasn't as developed as it was on Instagram, but as you can see now today, we're now approaching 15,000, and actually we have since eclipsed that mark. With a lot of the content that we've been approached with several media partners, with the Hibbs Insurance billboard out on Lone Oak, headed out towards Mayfield. That digital billboard, we have a lot of our information being streamed through. We've been approached with Tanager advertising screens. For those who may not be familiar, those are the digital signs that you might see in restaurants and doctors' offices. And then we also have West Kentucky Star that actually shares some of our website stories that directs it right to our website. So all of these things here are just a testament of people starting to see the benefit of knowing the information, seeing the information, but more importantly, one person at a time starting to bring them all together to this unified brand that we have. So we then launched the City of Paducah website that I think was launched, in March of 2018. We had launched that, which has been a great platform for us to share a lot of our stories and things that you can see there. And one thing that I want to say in regards to all content here that you might see on the website and social media, that all of these things are done from your local creatives in town. We feel at our Partake in Paducah and Socially Present that it's one thing to say that you're a creative city, but it's another to go out and employ those creatives and give them the power to share their work. And I think that's been a testament, because everything that you've seen in Paducah has been through and through Paducah. And I love that. I love that our photography is drawing all these people in. I love that our content writers are articulating some of the most challenging things to some of the best things and sad things in a way that it is easily receptive for us as an audience in the community. And that is something that we're very prideful on, because we do employ those local creatives. As I mentioned here, I did start here in August of 2018. Local guy, went to McNabb Elementary, Paducah Middle School, graduated from Paducah Tillman High School, went to Murray State University for my college degrees. I'm about as Western Kentucky as it gets, right? So I'm very prideful of that. It took time for me, being a young professional, to go off somewhere. And I lived in Nashville and I worked there. And it took me to see different environments. Some of the opportunities I was afforded in college allowed me to see things beyond the parameters of just this region that we see in the tri-state area. But when I come home with 2 kids, eager, ready to come home and get to work, it was another thing to appreciate the pace. I always used to think that maybe sometimes you want to go to that city. But I've since then learned, after being in the city, that not everyone wants that. They want to be in a cool neighborhood, one that's a cool town. It doesn't have to be big, just have a few of the things that they need, but one that's fun. And so now, since I've been on board, my mission personally, before going further, is that I see something that is very reflective of the community that we see, the faces that we see. Not necessarily the same circle of friends, but one that dives deeper into the community and finds those stories. So find those stories that can be inspiring in ways. Show some of the things that we're doing in the educational sector to address how we can make sure that we have a more skilled labor force. And if I can be a part of that, that's something that I can take home with pride every night, because I have 2 kids here. And so if I'm able to take this mission and share the stories of the past, which we have done, but then more importantly, have a hand in shaping the stories of the future, that's something that I can be very, very proud of moving forward, because there's going to be a point in time that there might be a photo and my kids see a photo and it's 30, 40 years down the line and they can say, well, my dad was a part of that. History is written by those that stop in the moment and capture the stories that are around them. That is our goal. We want to be able to show what Paducah, Kentucky was like in 2019 on August 13th. This is what that day was like. This is what the mood was like. This is what America was like here. And if we have a part in that, that is something that we have a lot of pride in moving forward with that. So as we move forward, we want to shape the stories of the future, which leads us to the current mission that we have with these goals, which is job creation. I am a son of a mother who has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and watched her struggle to find that opportunity. There was that good job that we had when I was a kid, but since then we have not since rebounded to that when I was younger. So yeah, I was a little angry about that and bitter, and understanding why can't she get this? She's so qualified. She has the skill set. Where is it? Well, now I can be a part of that solution with Partake in Paducah. It's all about job creation, right? So there's a challenge. We need to create positions. Then we need to fill those positions. But we don't necessarily have a net job until that position is filled. So as we understand, there are other efforts in economic development and workforce development and recruitment that are going on in other places in the city. We feel that we are uniquely positioned in this conversation to really shift the narrative, to really broadcast what is going on and how we're addressing that. And more importantly, we want to be able to try to fill the current vacancies that we have first, right? Let's get those filled as we're working side by side for those that are getting more jobs in. But bringing jobs means nothing until that job is filled. There is no impact from that until that job is filled. And that is something that we understand, and we feel that we could be a great piece and tool in that. So we understand that GPEG, Greater Paducah Economic Development, they are doing industry recruitment. They're trying to get the jobs, as I just mentioned. Our goal is to try to get the people here to fill those jobs. We understand that the economic impact of a position, I think, is roughly $1 million for one to get hired here. And if we are losing those opportunities because they feel that we're missing out on some aspects of the community that they need, then maybe we're not telling them enough of what we have. Maybe we're not sharing enough of what this unique area in town has. And so with Partake in Paducah, our goal is workforce recruitment. We want to be able to share and shift the conversation now where it has been more community-based and sharing a lot of the things about people, places, and things of Paducah. Continue those efforts, but now we're going to have a more concerted effort of workforce recruitment by showing some of the great things that are happening with Paducah Innovation Hub, showing that at the grassroots with the elementary schools and Head Start, the things that they're doing. I just sat down recently with a couple of elementary schools and found out of some amazing programs that they're doing with their students in regards to the trade services and trade skills, right? We want to be sure that this area knows, even the community members here knows that college isn't for everyone, and we understand that. And we feel that the value of trade services and trade skills has kind of been devalued in the sense of taking that route because it's always been said, this is the way to go. Well, it's our job now to let them know that, hey, there is a very lucrative lifestyle that can come your way. There's a way that you can take care of your family and advance forward with that. Those are our goals. We want to be sure that we partner with all of the educational institutions, partner with the workforce boards in town, the Workforce Development Board at WKCTC, have those conversations. As I mentioned before, Partake in Paducah is an adaptive brand, and it all is a byproduct of conversations like we would have today, right? How can we better use this platform to grow the pie? We don't need the slice of the pie. We want the whole pie so that we all can benefit from that, right? And so those are the things that we're trying to do. So you will see a lot of the content that comes down the pipeline here in terms of what we're trying to do. It goes a long way. So here's a quick point here as I get ready to wrap up what we have done since then. Okay. So we have 4 sections that we're getting ready to launch on the City of Paducah website. Okay, recently in April, we launched the Live section, which is all real estate of Paducah. If you haven't seen it already, this allows us to share open house events. This allows us to share the Why Paducah film. And there's a flow of information that I'll get ready to show you that we hope would navigate and guide traffic to the people of making the decisions of saying, we want to live here. We have Eat, which focuses on the restaurants in the area, Shop, which is of course retail, and Play is recreation. We are currently in development with a lot of those things as what we're doing. As I mentioned, we're doing a lot with real estate, and this is the flow of information that we've done on the website. You can see that on our Live page at cityofpaducah.com, where it has our Why Paducah film. If you haven't seen it, it is our best performing film that we have put out actually in the entire time of its existence. And it basically pretty much broadcasts and kind of highlights the culture of Paducah. It's not necessarily just the city limits, but LBL, that's a part of our culture, right? Shawnee, that's a part of our culture. So let's say they get excited, they want to learn a little bit more. Well, we've done 8 community features here, and we've already released, I think, 3 or 4 at this point already, with more to come. We've broken the city up in 8 neighborhoods based off of the map there, and then it breaks down from a From the White Paducah film, it's more of a kind of a 10,000 foot view. Well, this is a more of an intimate approach with the community features, allowing them to know about the things that are happening in Reedland and the things that are available in Lone Oak. Then we have our city guides, which are 25 city endorsed realtors that we want, that are pretty much the ambassadors. We want them to have a touch point if they go onto our website and they want to get answers to questions. And then afterwards, they can search for jobs and open houses. Our goal is to be sure that we have these resources not only for the community members, but for those that might be inquiring about the area, they will be able to find that information. And here's a quick shot here of all 25 realtors that are our city guides. And they've done a tremendous job representing us and really being, as I said before, the pillars and ambassadors of this community as being that first touch point for those looking into it. Now, partners, up to this point, we have done everything private sector. As I mentioned before, we are a small team. I am the lone full-time employee of Partake in Paducah, and the socially present creative marketing agency helps administer some of the things that we have with Partake in Paducah. So it goes without being said that we have great thanks and gratitude for all of our partners, and within the first year that really helped contribute and help us launch this mission of trying to, again, shift the narrative, break the mold of what people think, and try to unify the community. So we're always grateful for these businesses stepping in, because it's the private sector that has allowed us to do the work that you see at the pace, at that capacity. Now, we are at a challenge now. Not sure what that is, but we are at a challenge now to where we are really being strained. I mean, we've done everything that we can, and we're still committed to move forward with the platform that we've had. But we have done several cool pieces in the city that highlights the Noble Park facilities. We have so many things that are coming down the pipeline in terms of the things that we've done for Paducah Parks in the past, and some of the things that we're looking to do possibly in the future. We understand that a lot of these things and the things that we would like to get to will be a constraint. But it's at this point where we would hope that with the efforts that we would have in partnership with our city government, we had conversations with the county government as well. There's interest there. We're just hoping to see if there could be a way to partner so that we can continue the type of content at the rate that we're having, because we understand that things are moving a bit faster. More jobs are probably going to be announced, and we want to be on pace with that. And so with this, we've recently already partnered with Paducah Parks. As I mentioned before, we partnered with GPED as well, and several businesses in the community, the educational sector. We've had long-standing conversations with the tourism board here, with CVB, and have all received great feedback in terms of their support and what we're doing. And so with that being said, our ask is really that simply being said there is to see what we can do to continue this at that pace so that we can I would think that what we're doing would be something that would assist you in your efforts that is already going in terms of city growth. We feel that we have already kind of taken the necessary steps that you all wouldn't probably have to take, because we've done that. It's now in a sense of just keeping it moving at the pace that we have it, keep it sustained, so that way that we can continue to tell these great stories. I want there to be a family that sees the story that we will do on the local school here, and they're so moved about how passionate these teachers are, how hands-on our administrations are in these schools, and they're saying, I want my kids to go there. I want that company that is looking somewhere to rest its roots for an extension campus or another branch, and they're looking through and they happen to come across the community feature that is in West Paducah, and they see all that beautiful greenland, right? We want those questions, we want those contacts, but in order to keep in front of them, we have to keep pushing, we have to keep producing. So we already have invested several resources in regards to the website that would track targeted several markets around the area in Louisville, that's Kentucky, Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri, and Northwest Tennessee. And there's several markets that ads are running nonstop since we started. And our goal is to be sure, again, that we introduce Paducah to as many people as we can. And so with that being said, I know I probably went over a little on time there. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer, and I do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions or comments for Bradley? Anyone? Thank you for being here. We really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I do
Thank
want
you
to
for
take a
having
moment to great presentation. I am a big fan of Partake in Paducah, so thank you so much for being here. I want to clarify one thing for our community.
Yes.
That you said cityofpaducah.com, and it is not owned by the city
Not
government.
owned,
So
not
let's make
owned.
sure there's a clear
You know,
understanding.
that has been that was a confusion thing that I had as well. So I was like, all right, so we're with the, should I be at City Hall today, or so it is separate for some reason. Unbeknownst to us, the domain was available, and that was a part of the acquisition there. So no, we are not part of the city government.
Great. Just wanted to clarify.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
But thank you very much. I
Thank
look
you.
forward to having more conversation.
All right, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh yeah, good job. Good idea, Nathan. You're a clap man. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. All right, it was good. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda, and items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests. Does anyone have anything they'd like to remove tonight?
Section D.
Sorry?
Section D.
D as in dog?
D as in dog.
Okay, thanks. All right, you remove that for us? Anything else? No? Okay, with that, I'm going to ask the city clerk to read the items recommended for approval.
Approved minutes for July 23rd, 2019 Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Reappointment of Edward Narozniak to the Municipal Housing Commission. This term shall expire July 22nd, 2023. A municipal order accepting a 2019 Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $200,000 to the Department of Local Government for the Four Rivers Recovery Center and authorizing the mayor to execute all required grant award documents. A municipal order authorizing the application for and acceptance of a Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives grant through the Kentucky Local Records Branch for the city clerk's office to be used to digitize and convert to microfilm permanent records, and authorizing the mayor to execute the grant application and agreement and all documents related to same. A municipal order approving the execution of a grant application to obtain a 2019-2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Accountability Grant through the U.S. Department of Justice in the amount of $11,280 to be used by the Paducah Police Department for the purchase of handheld radios. A municipal order authorizing the application for and acceptance of a Kentucky Department for Libraries and Archives grant through the Kentucky Local Records Branch for the purchase of services related to digitizing felony case files for the Paducah Police Department, and authorizing the mayor to execute the grant agreement and all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the city manager to make a monetary contribution for economic development to Sprocket Incorporated in the amount of $50,000 to be used as additional local matching funds for the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development's Innovation Office Regional Innovation for Startups and Entrepreneurs RISE program.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner McElroy?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. And I guess I'll put personnel actions on the table generically. Is that okay with you? Okay, all right. So I make a motion to approve personnel actions. And do we want to have discussion about this?
Briefly.
Okay.
The personnel actions where I am totally in favor of our employees receiving increases in their pay per job performance, COLA. But as I'm looking through our packet, I noticed something that was looked a little strange to me. So I'm not where we had it looked like a selected few employees, and the amount of money that the increase was pretty astronomical. So I can't vote on that until I get a little bit more explanation on the rhyme or reason for that. So I just want to make that statement that I'm totally for our guys getting increases, but I need a little bit more information on the rhyme and reason for such a large increase per 3 or 4 employees.
And do you have specific ones that you want to discuss tonight, or?
No.
Okay. So you want us to vote without discussion of those?
I mean, you can
Do you have a
vote.
definition of astronomical?
Well, let's see, about 3 to 4 employees, and I think the total amount of their increases from 2018 to now hits around in north of $60,000.
Per employee?
No,
To pull that up.
collectively.
Okay, we probably need to go into executive session to
Right,
talk
well,
about that.
you asked.
Right.
I said I
No, I'm
didn't
sorry.
wanna
I
tell
was
you
following up with my thought too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I actually see some decreases on here, and I know that there was some promotions that happened. And oftentimes I've noticed when the numbers jump like that, it's typically a promotion, not a COLA or a merit increase. It's a
Right.
promotion of some.
Yeah.
I'm seeing on here the change in job title, which indicates a promotion to me.
Right.
So someone filling a position that's either vacant and jumping up positions or
Yeah.
something like that.
I understand the difference.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Well, do we want to have this conversation in executive session tonight? Are we comfortable with that? We want to stay and do that tonight?
Well, I'm very comfortable.
Okay, are you okay with that? I know it wasn't on the agenda originally.
Yeah, I think that would be okay.
Okay.
As far as,
We could also wait till next time, because this is just going to be a discussion. We're not going to be making decisions tonight, I'm assuming, unless this doesn't pass. So we could wait till the next meeting to talk about these kinds of things for executive session, because we did not publish executive session on the public agenda. So maybe we shouldn't do that. I'm going back on my statement.
just with executive session for the hiring, firing, or discipline. So I guess this would fall under hiring for promotions.
Okay. Are you comfortable doing that without it being on the, I mean, we have it
Well,
on
we
there
can
in
do it.
case,
It's on the
right?
agenda.
Just in case?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can do it tonight. Yeah,
Okay.
that's not a
Okay,
problem.
then
I
we
mean, it's
will.
always on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll do it then. All right. Let's go ahead and, I think I made the motion, right? Okay. You want to call roll?
I need a second.
Second.
Commissioner Abraham?
No.
Commissioner McElroy?
What are we voting on?
Personnel actions that we pulled off the consent agenda.
Okay.
To
Are we going
approve.
into
We're going to pass
executive?
them without discussing on them?
Yeah, I thought we were going to executive session. Should we not table this?
Oh, do you want to table it?
Yeah, let's table.
I think that would
I
be
mean, these are
proper.
people's pay we're talking about, so.
Yeah, let's,
Do you want to come back and vote on it after the executive session?
Sure.
Okay, then we're going to table this. Make a motion to table personnel actions.
Second.
Roll call roll, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner McElroy?
aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, moving on to, let's see, where am I? Adoption of ordinances. Commissioner Abraham?
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance repealing Chapter 78, Section 78-5 Grievance Procedure of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky. This ordinance is summarized as follows. City Manager implemented Administrative Policy HR 43, Employee Concerns to establish and define the process through which workplace concerns not governed under a collective bargaining agreement or departmental workplace policy may be addressed and resolved for all employees of the city. This ordinance is being enacted to repeal Code Section 78-5 in its entirety, and employees shall be directed to follow the process outlined in the Employee Concerns Policy.
Second.
Any discussions, comments? Michelle, do you want to come up and give a little overview of this, please?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As we discussed at the last meeting, this is repealing an ordinance because we have implemented a new policy that clearly lines out the structure and method in which an employee can bring forward a concern and have it escalate through the organization. So this is repealing the duplicate language.
Anyone have any questions?
What was the procedure before? Just so
Right
everybody
here.
can connect the dots there.
Absolutely. So you're interested in the procedure before and how we changed it?
Yeah,
Okay,
prior to this,
sure.
what was walk us through that?
Sure. So the language we're repealing had the progression where you take the employee concern would take their concern to the immediate supervisor. It would go through the department director and then to the city manager. So how we have changed it, just want to make sure I follow my notes here. The employee is still instructed to bring their concern to the immediate supervisor. It then escalates to the department director, then HR, then the city manager, and then to the Board of Commission. Kind of has the ultimate say if the employee is the one who can choose to continue to escalate it.
You did write into that policy that there is a opportunity to jump some of those layers
Yes.
if there is an issue with that relationship.
Yes. That's right.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But we also really would like to encourage employees to work with the supervisor and the department and HR and see if, a lot of times some communication can be very helpful. And so we also would like to encourage employees to talk to their supervisor and their director if it is appropriate. But there is the possibility to escalate it to other levels if the employee does not feel comfortable talking to it or it's a confidential matter.
Any other questions? No. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to introductions of ordinance. Commissioner McElroy. Oh, it's adoption, sorry. I'm off my game. All right, let's call roll. How about that?
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner McElroy?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. And Commissioner McElroy.
Yes. I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Sanitary Sewer Easement and Temporary Construction Easement between the City of Paducah, Kentucky and the Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency for an area located between Hanson Road and Pecan Drive in order to allow for the connection of an existing sanitary sewer interceptor line to a wet weather tank." This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the execution of a sanitary sewer easement and temporary construction easement between the City of Paducah and Paducah-McCracken County Joint Sewer Agency for, and in consideration of $1.00 for an area located between Hanson Road and Pecan Drive.
Second.
John, you want to come give us a preview? Welcome back, by the way.
It's pretty cut and dry. I think you see a couple pictures in your packet of what we're doing. There's about a 19-acre tract down there that we bought. We're going to keep it natural, but we're building a wet weather tank. I think the most important thing to mention, it's a sanitary sewer tank, and we're going to store sanitary sewer in there during a wet period, which is primarily in the spring and in the late fall. Is when you have all those heavy rainfalls. We did buy the entire portion of that property down there by Pecan Drive, and we have a sanitary sewer that comes down around Crooked Creek, and we have another one that comes from Lone Oak, and we're going to draw flow off both of those. And Rick is making fun of me back there because it seems like all I'm building is tanks, but this is the last one that we're going to be looking to build, so it will finish all that up. So it's going to look very similar to the one we built in Reedland, where it's green and kind of tucked behind the trees there. But I need a small easement from you guys to do the project, which is actually required by my compliance actions.
So it's not going to be ugly
Not
and
gonna
bright
be
orange.
Nope.
It's going to
Nope.
be behind the trees.
We've actually figured out the color to paint it, and we'll paint it basically the color of an evergreen tree or whatever you want to call it. But that's
But
what
someday,
we're gonna
if someone comes and asks you to put a mural on it,
do. Then they'll
you
need to
might
come up with
consider
some
it.
cash to pay me to do that. Yes,
because I walk on the Greenway Trail and dream of the huge mural.
that's right.
Woo,
That
that's big.
Someone will need to help find.
Yeah.
You could sell naming rights.
That's right. No, I don't think you want to get into naming rights in sanitary.
Sanitary sewer.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions for John while he's here? No? All right. Thank you so much for being here. All right. Moving on, Commissioner Watkins.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance Amending Section 2-315 of the Code and Ordinances of the City of Paducah." This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance sets forth the qualifications for employment as a firefighter in the City of Paducah's Fire Department. It is amended to lower the minimum age requirement from 21 to 19 years old.
Second.
Hi, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and City Manager. What you have before you is just a recommendation to reduce it by 2 years. We're missing some of the younger folks coming out of high school. They've already got a job by the time they're 21. They're getting a lot of college credit now while they're in high school, and they're getting all that knocked out. So our idea with lowering it to 19 is to drive them, hopefully those that are interested, towards the technical degree program out there at the college, the fire technical degree. Let them finish up there, come right on to us, and that way they don't get into the professional workforce and we're trying to pull them out of there. So we're excited about that opportunity and seeing what opportunity it provides for us to get new candidates in the mix, and hopefully you all do too.
Yeah, good.
Excellent.
Well, I'm
Do you
glad.
have- oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go.
Oh, you go.
I'm glad to hear that explanation, Chief, because the whole time I was thinking, are we having a hard time recruiting firefighters now? But that doesn't have anything to do with it, then, does it?
No, I think everybody's having a hard time recruiting all the way around. Chief Laird and I were just discussing that same issue. We had a group of people apply. We do testing, we do background checks, we do psychologicals, and that gets whittled down to a fairly small number. And if you have very many to hire, you eat up that whatever's left pretty quickly. And we're going to be turning right around and hiring ourselves. I've got at least one more projected to end at the end of the year. And you've got 8 on personnel actions tonight to start September the 5th. And that even got backed up because we were doing backgrounds and psychologicals, and those took longer than expected. So the pool that we had this time was smaller. It's been staying about the same area that we've seen for the last 3 or 4 years, I guess. By the time we get through all of that stuff, we get 14 or 15. This time we had 11. We've had 13, we've had 9 at different times. So we think the trend's changing. Kids are getting their college hours and they're getting into the workforce earlier, and we need to get down there to compete with that.
I know that the police department has the program where they help with tuition assistance for degree advancement. Is that still the case here?
It's the whole city.
Oh, the whole city does that. Okay, so you have that in your program as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have people taking advantage of that in the fire department as much?
I have a lot of people pursuing their technical degree that have worked through that. I don't think I have anybody. I have one active in it right now.
Okay. Seems like a good opportunity for a 19-year-old
Yes.
to get in and maybe take advantage of
That's
that
what we're
program
hoping.
as well. Yeah, good recruitment tool for sure.
That's exactly right. When Chief brought this to me, I thought it was a fantastic way to do exactly what was discussed earlier, Partake in Paducah, and basically make sure that the students aren't leaving Paducah to go off to universities elsewhere and not come back. Make sure there's opportunities here for them now. I pushed them to do 18, but they chose 19.
That 1 year of maturity.
Well, getting that fire technical degree, I'm trying to shove them that way. So that'll help them in the long run if they do that. If they had that coming into us, it'll give them a leg up.
Because they do still go through the same rigorous training that
They do.
every other
Yes.
firefighter goes
Yes.
through. Yeah.
And that provides a really good base, and it sets them up for our promotional testing and other things later.
Great, great.
Now's a good time to let the public know, City Manager, Chief, what kind of benefits in that area does the city provide? How many college credit hours per semester does the city pay for, or?
Oh, you touched my knowledge. I just looked at it today. In fact, I think it's we
I
cover up.
apologize, Commissioner Watkins. I can't speak to exactly what that is.
I want to say it's up to $3,500 a year. We pay 50% of tuition only per year. It has to be within the budget, though, so it's pretty lucrative. It's a good benefit. And one thing that we've been kicking around the city manager's office, which I haven't bounced off the leadership team yet, but I have shared with a few of the commissioners that we were looking at trying to implement a student loan forgiveness program as well, because we really want to make ourselves an attractive place to work.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about diversity within the fire department. We talk about that a lot here in Chambers. We like to pride ourselves on that. But when you look at our fire department, you don't see a lot of diversity. And I'm glad that you're talking about what you're talking about. What I would like to see is as a team of our employees, diverse, take a day trip and go down to some of the, for instance, in the Nashville area. There are colleges there that have career days and showing what we have here, a career in the fire department. A lot of times what you hear is that, well, If you can get me a flyer from one of the churches here, then I will be willing to meet with those folks and talk to them about it. And for me, that's kind of low-hanging fruit. Yeah, we can do that, but is that really what we want to do? I mean, I'm not against that, but just down the road, whether in either direction, whether it's college in Nashville, Southern Illinois, Southeast Missouri, showing what we have here. The presentation that the young man gave, that was a great presentation. I would like to check out Paducah, what's available for me. And I don't think sometimes we are casting that net far enough. But when you cast the net, you got to be able to deal with what you catch in the boat. So having some of our talented guys go down there representing the city, showing that we are diverse, we are open, we are welcoming, I think that would be something we need to move on.
Sure. Sounds like a good idea.
You the chief.
And I can do it.
All right.
Appreciate the insight.
Any other questions? Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Wilson?
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance approving change orders number 6 and 7 with A&K Construction for a price increase in the amount of $5,686 for the City Hall Phase 1 project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah approves change orders number 6 and 7 to the contract with A&K Construction for the City Hall Phase 1 project. Change order number 6 decreases the contract cost by $960 for plants that were purchased and not needed, and approves change order number 7, which increases the contract by $6,646 for EPDM pond liners for the atrium planters for a net increase to the contract in the amount of $5,686 and a total contract price of $4,170,971, and authorizes the mayor to execute the change orders.
Second.
Hello.
Hello, Mayor, Commission. I can simplify this in about 3 words, and I know some of you will appreciate that. We finished this contract 2% over its bid amount, and that's not usual. It's very, very good. So with all the ups and downs and everything with the City Hall project, it went very well. And basically that change order there was a deal with these planters in the atrium out here. We couldn't line them because there was so much deterioration inside them. We were going to put fiberglass liner on the inside of them. We couldn't, so we had to put a membrane liner on the inside of them. So that's the difference.
Really nice.
Wow. So more people need to take advantage of our atrium so we can get our money's worth. That's what I'm saying.
More coming.
Yeah.
And those aren't fake flowers, by the way. They're all real plants.
Producing oxygen for us. Excellent. Thank you so much. Any questions for Rick? Sorry, hang on. No? Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Wilson.
Actually,
No,
I don't have the other one. It's back to Commissioner Abraham.
Sorry, Commissioner Abraham.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, authorizing and approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Paducah, Kentucky, and the County of McCracken, Kentucky. The Paducah-McCracken County Tourist and Convention Commission, the Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation, and the McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission to be established respective rights and duties related to tourism, convention and recreation activities, and to memorialize arrangements for the allocation of transit room tax within the City of Paducah and McCracken County. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the execution of an interlocal agreement between the City, McCracken County, the Paducah-McCracken County Tourist and Convention Commission, and the Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation and the McCracken County Sports Tourist Commission for the purpose of establishing rights and duties related to tourism, convention, and recreation activities, and to memorialize their arrangement for the allocation of the transit room tax in order to provide for the orderly payment and retirement of existing liabilities and to provide for the orderly payment of allocations of the taxes collected.
Second.
Thank you. Jim, do you want to give us your synopsis?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm very excited to talk about this tonight. This has been the culmination of several months of work between the county and the city, basically working on building and really harnessing a good partnership. Looking to be creative. Commissioner Jones from the county came up with this opportunity as far as seeing if we could tap into additional tax revenues, if you will, from the other people visiting through our community and staying in our hotels that we can utilize to turn around to invest in tourism-worthy facilities, that being, baseball, softball, volleyball, and then, of course, soccer. So I'm really excited about that, and it really goes hand in hand with our strategic plan initiatives as one of our WIN initiatives, is making sure that we have baseball fields and softball fields that are tournament-worthy, that people, when they come out of their house on a Saturday morning, they don't have to get in their car and drive 2 hours to play a baseball game. Instead, they can go just down the street in Paducah and play a baseball game. That's a tournament where other people are coming into town and staying in those hotels and those motel rooms or the Airbnbs and actually participating in the tournament here in Paducah, and we're hosting them here. And they're going to the restaurants and they're eating here. They're getting gas here. They're going to the stores here. And who knows, while they're here, they're partaking in Paducah, and perhaps they want to stay here, come back here, live here, because they see the quality of life that we have here in Paducah. And really to see this kind of come in as a partnership that was the city and the county, and then of course we had the CVB at the table, and we had those discussions about what this can look like, what this will look like in the future. And then at the last meeting, we pulled the convention center into the conversation as well, making sure that they understood what was happening and what we're looking at this partnership. And then, of course, going through this, the fifth member, which will be created, will be the McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission, which doesn't even exist yet. And of course, the county will be creating that and making sure that the taxes coming in are captured. For this agreement, the most important thing for me is that it protects our liabilities. It protects our bond indebtedness, and making sure that those bondholders are secure in their investments when they invest in our bonds that we sold back originally in 2010. And also it helps to protect and secures our lease from 2017, for these tourism-related activities. So that's the most critical thing for me, and making sure that that money is there, the bondholders are protected as much as possible through this agreement. And really, just working with them has been a pleasure. It's been a joy. And I've liked the process of actually looking at everything as far as reaching out to all the attorneys involved in the process, reaching out to our bond counsel in the process, getting their opinions and incorporating those all into this agreement. But in a nutshell, what will occur is we will actually bring in 4% additional revenue on the transient room tax. That 3%, of course, will be utilized for the city's CVB, as the current CVB is accepted by the city, which we'll get to that in a future ordinance. And then that 3% that's actually coming through the county to the CVB will stop, and then the city will actually levy a 3% tax. But through this agreement, the county will still collect that. So the county will collect the city's tax and then pass that to the CVB, and then 1% then would be come from the tax as well, which would go to support the operations at the convention center. And then on the county side, they would have a 3% tax that would be basically designated for use by the newly created Sports Commission to help us with the design, development, maintenance, operation, construction of the various sports facilities, baseball, softball, volleyball, soccer. And then also they'll have 1% for the convention center, as they put in here, to be declared by the McCracken County Fiscal Court. But their ordinance does say the Julian Carroll Convention Center at this time. And also they would have 2%, goes back to the key important thing, that 2% that they'll continue to collect to support the debt that we have out there through the 2010 bond issue, as well as the 2017 lease issue through CFSB. So I think it's a good agreement. It's going to take all parties to ratify. The CVB seems in favor. The CCC seems in favor. The Sports Commission doesn't exist yet. But that's something that's going to be on the county's job, is to get them up and running. And then, of course, it's up to this body and the county fiscal court to adopt and move on with. That's in a nutshell.
That was not a nutshell, but it was good. Great job. Anyone have any questions, comments you want to make about this?
Just the comment that sitting between three lawyers and learning that there are certain words you just don't use, like must, never use that. Shall, perhaps, but must, no, don't use that. It's looking at the document and it was presented and taken back and looked at it and changed, so everybody pretty much understood what was there and was comfortable with it. But it was a lot of conversation, and something like this, it takes that type of action, and everybody was civil. There wasn't a lot of screaming. There weren't any screaming. It worked well.
I can think of a couple of other terms that were used that were identified later, explained later about why that they were used. So I know that we are sitting here with two different versions in front of us. There's a version 6 here and a version 7. I know one was approved by the county last night. I understand that was version 6. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that the one that we're being presented with tonight?
Yes.
Version 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I think there's so many great things about this. First of all, it's just great to see the city and county work together. This is our city. Those of us who live in the city live in the county anyway, so it's great to see that cooperation and that spirit of working together. In terms of the economy of Paducah, we need this. We have tried to recruit partners. You've probably tried to recruit business people, and they want to know where your state-of-the-art ball fields are and swimming pool and all that, and we do not have that, and we are lagging behind. If you go to other cities, you see that, and you can see why people turn their families that way, because when you are recruiting for a business, you are recruiting families, people with families that want these facilities. And they're going to be great in terms of bringing tourists in and playing these ball tournaments here, and that will be awesome. But it's also awesome that our kids have these fields to practice on during the week and have, games during the week, and that their tournaments can be here and they can have home tournaments. Right now, we have a lot of teams that cannot have a home tournament because we don't have those kind of fields. So I think this is a great mark forward for families, for Paducah, for good activities, recreation, healthy living, and I'm super excited we're at this point.
I agree totally. Sports, these soccer, softball, baseball, volleyball, it's a multi-million-dollar tourism industry, and sports is also a quality of life. If we expect to be able to recruit employers to Paducah in this area to bring in some job opportunities, we've got to have a quality of life that would make them want to live here, and right now we don't have that in the way of recreation. That's so important to families, their children, and all of us as a society exercise and partake in sports more than we used to, I guess, but it's a part of it, and if you don't have it, they're not coming. So I echo what Commissioner McElroy just said, and just add, that if we're going to recruit employers here, we've got to move forward, and finally, we've got to figured out a way to fund it, to support it financially. And so I think it's a great idea. I commend Commissioner Jones for coming up with this idea and all the hard work the mayor and the commission and Mayor Pro Tem put in on all of you, and the city manager bringing this to its fruition, and we're ready to move forward with it now. It's exciting.
Commissioner, that's $15 billion.
As a tourism industry.
Youth sports.
Oh, $15 billion.
Just
wow.
want to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
So what's our part of that?
We're getting ready to get a piece.
We're going to get a piece.
Well, I want to echo that too with Commissioner Jones. I believe we are the first in the state to try this method. So we'll be an example now for others to follow. So thank you to them for him for developing this idea. We've all wanted to do this for a long time, so we have a creative way to do that now, and look forward to moving forward with working with the county on this. So.
Well, just to be clear, there are other communities who have split their CVB up the city and the county have each imposed, right? Am I right about that, Jim?
I
Maybe
was
I'm
told
not
we
right
were the
about the
first.
tax
I
part.
don't know.
I guess we're not, I don't know about that.
Well,
They've definitely split
they
up
have
the CVBs for sure. So that's in Grayson, but I'm not sure about the tax part. I will say, I do think, I hope that our community, and we will take a moment on the 26th is our joint meeting. I'm pretty sure that's confirmed now with the county to approve this officially at the courthouse. And I hope that we'll take a moment in our community to really celebrate a moment, because from what I understand, way even before I moved back home, this conversation about building a sports complex of some kind has been false started several times. So this is a big deal, and we are there at the actual finish line to find the funding to do this. And so we should be very proud. I do commend, I know that Commissioner Jones is watching this, and I'm going to wave at him, and all the other commissioners and the judge as well. Commend him for finding this opportunity for us. But I also want to say, this could have gone a different way. The fiscal court and ourselves, we could have done this without cooperation. Statutorily, this could have been done without this interlocal agreement. It could have been done and us sit here and they sit there. But instead, we chose to come to the table and create an agreement that we all saw appropriate. So our pathway forward is now collaborative. And I think that's a really important part. We have started the RFQ process for that facility. It includes all the players that need to be at the table, and that was our commission saying we want to be a part of that conversation too and help the county get this off the ground. So I think we have done a great service for that. I will say that I am still uncomfortable. I don't know if it's enough for me to stop the process, but I am uncomfortable with the county not specifically identifying the Convention Center Corporation in our interlocal agreement and being firm about their commitment to fund them as we have been. I don't like that. I think it's unstable. I think it does not create longevity for the CCC, the Convention Center Corporation. If you can imagine getting double the revenue overnight and then it being taken away from you at any moment, that's not stability in my mind. So I don't like it. The fiscal court knows that. I've told every one of them this. I've told all of you this. But I think it's important for us to move forward and to keep having this conversation. So any other comments based on that? No? All right. We'll move on to the next component of this, which is Commissioner McElroy.
Yes, I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance accepting the assets and appointing authority of the Paducah-McCracken County Tourism and Convention Commission and renaming same and amending Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 5 of the City of Paducah Code of Ordinance. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance renames the Paducah-McCracken County Convention and Visitors Bureau to be identified as the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Bureau. The Bureau shall continue to own all its assets and liabilities without the participation or involvement of McCracken County. This ordinance authorizes the City of Paducah to accept sole appointing authority for the Bureau. All current and existing board members shall remain on the board for the duration of their current terms and thereafter be appointed pursuant to the applicable section of the Kentucky Revised Statutes. The city shall act as the sole governing body for the purposes of KRS 91A 350-91A-392. Further, the ordinance amends the Paducah Code of Ordinance Section 2-441 and 2-445 to reflect aforementioned change.
Second.
Good job. This is just a technicality. Do you want to speak about this?
Just one key thing to point out here, the current existing and standing board of directors will remain in place until they term out, basically. And once they do term out, then the city will be the sole appointing authority for those new board members, still appointed by, through the process procedures established in the Kentucky Revised Statutes.
Great. Any questions for Jim or anyone? No? All right, we'll move on then. Commissioner Watkins?
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance establishing the City of Paducah transient room tax. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance establishes the procedures for the collection, use, disbursements, and enforcement of the transient room tax. A tax of 3% will be levied for use by the Paducah Convention and Visitors Bureau for the purpose of financing the operation of the Bureau. A tax of 1% will be levied for use by the Convention Center Corporation for the purpose of financing the operation of the Convention Center, Implementation of this ordinance shall occur only upon the execution of the interlocal agreement entered into between the City of Paducah, McCracken County, the Paducah-McCracken County Convention Visitors Bureau, and McCracken County Sports Tourism Commission, and the Convention Center Corporation. The full text of each section that imposes taxes or fees shall be published in accordance with KRS 838.060.
Second.
City Manager, do you want to make a comment about that?
Yeah, I just want comment. It goes actually to the previous ordinance as well, but the key thing there on this ordinance that was mentioned by Commissioner Watkins is that these will not go into effect until the interlocal agreement, the interlocal agreement is fully adopted by all parties. So basically what we're trying to do is make sure we protect what's currently in place for the bondholders. So it's really critical for us to make sure that all parties enter into and execute their interlocal agreement, and then the ordinances will go into effect.
Great. I feel like we need a flow chart for this. If I hadn't been involved, I can imagine sitting out there being like, what just happened? I have some eyes, big eyes. Maybe we can work on that. I'll try to draw one up or something, because we have done a lot of work. I really want our community to know that we have done a lot of work on this. It's not just us sitting up here, it's the county fiscal court also. And our attorneys, we have had many attorneys at the table. There happen to be 2 on the fiscal court. So we've had a lot of attorneys look at this, and I think that I hope we're in good shape to move ahead. So August 26th, if you want to come, I'm hoping we're going to play Take Me Out to the Ball Game after we pass this. Something has to happen.
We got plans.
Oh, okay, you got plans. All right, good. All right. Well, I'm going to circle us back before we move on any further. The good news is we actually asked our city attorney to be here tonight just in case we had questions about these issues, but it also meant he was trying to keep us on target with the issue previously about the personnel actions. So we cannot go into executive session per the state statute on this issue. So I want to ask you all, do we want to keep this tabled for the next meeting and have our discussions one-on-one, or do we want to bring this back up? I did make copies. We can do this without naming names, and be careful. These people need to get paid, so I want to make sure we're thoughtful. We have 8 new hires in the fire department that need to be also taken up. So what would be the preference of this commission tonight? I guess Commissioner Abraham. Sorry, Commissioner McElroy.
I was going to say, can we talk about it thoughtfully without names?
We can try.
Well, I don't have to mention names. I mean, these folks work in different departments.
So if we're going to, I'm going to put it on the table. Do we want to take it up tonight so we can get this moved on?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't think we want to hold up hiring fire department employees, so.
All right, so we actually have to remove the tabling. Is that what you're telling me? Okay.
Take from the table.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to take from the table the personnel actions for August 13th, 2019. I need a second. Thank you. And roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner McElroy?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. Then I'm going to make a motion to approve, right? She has my copy. I'll make a motion to approve the personnel actions as proposed tonight.
Second.
Thank you. All right, this was my copy that I made notes on, so you see arrows actually. So I went through and just kind of looked at what went up, what went down, it looked like a promotion, where were the biggest jumps. So the majority of these, it looks like, were changed by a very small amount, $1, 70 cents, things like that, except for there was a promotion proposed on here as well.
Yeah, any questions, just ask and I can explain what occurred.
Great.
Wow.
I got one wrong.
The finance change, was that obviously a promotion? Did that replace somebody who was doing that job, or what's the situation
Yeah, that's a
there?
great question. Yep. Basically, what happened with that is we had an existing accountant. She's been here for, I believe, 11 and a half years, 12 years. She actually applied for and was hired as the revenue manager. From accountants, that is a significant promotion that is in line with the pay grade for that position. Basically, she does have her bachelor's degree in finance. She's highly qualified. She has a great understanding of munis and she's well prepared for the position. She's going to be instrumental as we continue through the ERP transition process, as property taxes basically getting ready to ramp up again. She's replacing an employee that has resigned, and she had a lot of talent, and she was hired on by another local employer who paid, of course, more than what we can afford to pay for that position. So it goes back to what I said before about trying to do what we can to keep our employees and create a good workplace. But as far as the money there, that's for a promotion.
So I'm going to ask her, are you planning on voting on all of these at one time?
Mm-hmm.
So if we vote no, we're voting to not hire the new firefighters or give anyone else on here a raise. Is that correct?
It's all in there together, yes.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? I'm going to move on to a vote if there's not. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham?
Aye.
Commissioner McElroy?
Aye.
Commissioner Watkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Harless?
Aye. All right, comments from the city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a few. First and foremost, just for something that's being a member of the ELGL, the Engaging Local Government Leaders, it's something it's a national movement to promote local government and what we do, bringing City Hall out and basically engaging the public. They've done something annually in August. They do a City Hall Selfie Day. So basically, they instituted the challenge, and of course, I had to throw down with them and talk a little smack. So we inserted ourselves into this competition again this year. So it's just all in good fun. But this year, the team has decided to do a selfie with the city manager. So basically, Thursday morning from 8 to 10 here at City Hall, we're inviting the residents of Paducah and the small businesses to come out, say hi, shake a hand, and exchange cards, if you will, take a selfie. And then also we're encouraging the city team, Team Paducah, to come up and take a selfie as well. And then, of course, post that. Just be proud in Paducah, proud in our City Hall. We have a beautiful City Hall. What I'm hoping for is a couple years ago also they did a City Hall competition, and I'll tell you what, we'll win that thing. So I'm hoping they bring that back. The second thing I have, Madam Mayor, is due to the termination of the fiscal year, and Sprocket was not yet ready to do their grant match, that $150,000 that we committed last fiscal year at FY19 was not expended. We weren't able to expend that out. So we were holding that for Sprocket. We have to close out the fiscal year tomorrow. So what we're going to do is close out the fiscal year, and then I'll bring back a second action for that additional $150. So basically, it's still there in cash. We haven't spent it. It's been waiting for them. So we'll have to bring back for a separate Board of Commissioners action to be able to authorize the expenditure once they do get the blessings from the state to move forward. So in full, it'll be the $150 that we already authorized and the $50 that we talked about tonight. That was approved tonight under the consent agenda. So it'll be $200 in full, which will match what the county did. So
In the library.
In the library, that's right. So we'll be bringing that back. So just, we have it, it's there, it's already been authorized, but due to the fiscal year ending, we're not able to give it to them because they're not ready for it yet. But once they're ready for it, we'll bring back another action by the Board of Commissioners to authorize that. So I want to make sure everybody is aware of that.
So that gives them the money they need for the state match to finish out the build out for Codified.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so
reported in here.
it is the money for the RISE grant program for the physical, modifications to the building. But it's already been authorized. But just due to a technicality of the fiscal year, we have to bring it back for reauthorization.
But I mean, there's been a story I think in the paper about it. It will fund Codify, which many of us have been over to Cape to see, and it's a very exciting opportunity for our community. To bring jobs, as we've been talking about, and to create some new companies here. So it's very exciting. I'm glad that we're able to be a part of it.
It's a great use of money. Next thing I have is that just to let the Board of Commissioners know that we will be presenting at the Chamber of Commerce Small Business Symposium next week, talking about our New Day initiatives. And then right along with that, tomorrow is our first development kickstart meeting. We actually have a company coming to town to talk to the team tomorrow afternoon. We're excited about that. And then, as you mentioned before, getting more people into City Hall to see the planners, we're hosting a arts exhibit in City Hall, and you'll see some information come out on that. It's going to be from September 5th through the month of October, 10:30. It's through a partnership with the state, but it's called, I hope I can read this right, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Making of a Master?
Makings of a Master.
Makings of a Master, thank you. So we're excited about that. The exhibit's actually right now in Bowling Green. We're going to pick that up at the beginning of September, bring it here, and they'll help us set it all up, and it'll be on display for roughly 2 months.
Cool.
And open to the public, and then promotions, and have them come in to see the exhibits.
So the State Kentucky Arts Council is sponsoring this? Oh, wow.
Yep, it travels around to different places, and Bowling Green has it right now, and then we'll have it for the next.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Any comments from the commissioners tonight?
I was just going to say that there is the National Cleanup meeting here with it's a cleanup dialogue for Department of Energy and EPA administrators from throughout the country and state environmental folks. So thank you all that stopped by to welcome them earlier this afternoon. I think we're leaving, I think, tomorrow, but it's a great opportunity for that dialogue in our community.
And they're loving our downtown.
They love our downtown, yeah. They were all going to eat downtown tonight, so it's great.
Excellent. Anyone else have anything? I did want to update you all that we sent out a letter of support to the Jatan School project that is going under, actually it's an application to the Kentucky Housing Corporation. I think we might have talked about this kind of briefly before, but I actually got permission from the developer to share this with you all tonight. It is going to be public as soon as they hit submit. They will be applying for tax credits of all kinds in order to do a rehab project on the Jatan School. It will also include a community service component, which would mean the opportunity to revitalize the old Symphony Hall, if you all remember that, and to give maybe a couple of nonprofits in our community access to a community event space like that. There's also a possible partnership with another arts agency in Lexington that was here for our creative council, our creative symposium that we had. They do art houses, and they're looking at a possible partnership to do some management of some art studios and studio space in the Jatan School. This will be a low-income project still. It will be a renovated low-income project, but they'll be using the Kentucky Housing Corporation tax credits to do this. So really exciting. Hopefully, I think January is when we'll find out for sure if it's a real project that has a green light, and we'll see hopefully the Jatan School come back to life. Yeah.
Is it still an apartment complex at this point?
It is. Yep, there are current residents there, and they do, if they get accepted, do have to have an arrangement, as the Irving Cobb does, on how you renovate a building while people are living there, or where you can place people as you renovate. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great shot in the arm for that area.
And I do remember when the symphony performed there.
A lot of people
I'm going to go ahead and confess it. I do remember it.
Well, I attended Jatan 7th, 8th, and 9th grade.
Oh,
and remember sitting in that auditorium. You probably did too. Remember sitting in that auditorium.
That's excellent. Yes, you beat. I love that. Hey, well, speaking of history, yesterday, I was going to tell you this too. Yesterday, Commissioner McElroy and Commissioner Wilson and I went to Littleville.
We were in different places.
We were in different places.
We did not all three go
That's
together.
right. Now, Commissioner Wilson went to the church where the reception was held, and then Commissioner McElroy and I walked. And we stopped, if everyone knows Littleville, we stopped at the corner of State and Little Avenue, where the train tracks are coming over and Garrett's entrance is right there. And we had a history lesson that I'll never forget. The first lesson was that you could still see the platform that the old Union Station used to sit on. The second history lesson was when Mr. Hack pointed over to this really tall building, you can barely see through the trees, and he said his grandmother catered to the crew of How the West Was Won when they came here to do the Ice House scene. These guys up front are like, oh, you already know this. Anyway, it was the coolest history lesson. We also got to see school buses stacked on top of each other. It was just a really neat experience overall. I posted pictures on Facebook and a little bit of what we learned yesterday. Still some very important needs in that community around stormwater, around mowing issues, around abandoned vacant buildings and things like that. But I really enjoyed walking with those neighbors yesterday, and just the pride. One gentleman has actually been mowing being a city-owned alley for years and years and years and keeping it up because it's around his home. So anyway, I am really enjoying these walks. If anyone ever wants to join us, I hope that you will come. Next week is Lower Town. So.
Mayor, if I could add on to that, I remember when I was young taking a train ride.
You were in the movie?
From that plat. No, I wasn't in the movie. I was in country, though. If you look really fast in the beginning of it, that's my day, acting. I was probably on the screen about 5 seconds. Made minimum wage and got no royalties from it at all. But I remember taking a train ride when I was young from that platform in Littleville. And I've always wanted, I tried last time I was on the commission and weren't able to do that, but I would love the idea. I think railroading and trains are so romantic. My grandfather, brother, and brother-in-law made their livings at Illinois Central Gulf, and my grandfather worked there. It was 2,500 people that worked there. But I would love like a scenic leisure train. There's so many tracks around here, and there is one railroad that had one that they might be willing to sell. But I think it'd be a great tourism activity to bring people in, and I just think it'd be so neat to be able to take just a leisure scenic train ride originating and ending in Paducah.
I think it should be powered by one of those teeter-totter things. Yeah. And you should get on there and just, move it. That's a great idea.
I can shovel coal. I've done that.
All right. Anything else anyone have? We have a few audience comments tonight. All right, we're going to start with Mr. Ron Ward, if he's still made it with us.
Do you have a time?
We're going to have 3 minutes up there, Ron, just so you know.
Okay. Well, first off, since Mr. Abraham brought it up about personnel, in Hopkinsville, the Kentucky New Era, which is a Paxton-owned paper, just published what all the city and county employees make. Are your employees' salaries a matter of public record here?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay, where do you find that at?
We have it on our website.
What was that?
The personnel
Are
actions
city
are always on our
employees'
website.
salaries a matter of public record?
They are, and they are, personnel actions can be found in the commission meeting packet every week, and you can also request at any time.
Okay. Well, then another thing I was going to talk about was your tourism. One thing I think is overlooked is Noble Park. It's like a beautiful park, but yet nothing really ever goes on there. And I've talked to like Sandra Wilson about this before. A miniature golf course. Every city around has either access to a city-owned miniature golf course or a privately owned, except us. Even Mayfield has one. It's not a great one. But like that, you're not talking a whole lot of money. What are you talking, 15 or 20 million for a ballpark? Like Madisonville just built a miniature golf course for $350,000. That would bring in a lot of activity there. I mean, people go to Maggie's Golf all the time. And then in Mayfield, they built the Public Works Department could maybe build a miniature golf course. It's not rocket science. And another thing you could draw to the park would maybe be some paddle boats on the lake. Like they have up at Kentucky Lake. I know that would be an insurance issue, but still, it would have been more activities for people to do and come here and do something. And another thing you could have there at Noble Park, which you have a spring arts and craft festival. Well, why not have one in the fall? Most cities have an arts and crafts festival in the fall. You could have an arts and crafts festival there and maybe have a carnival. Or you could do like maybe Owensboro does. You could have the Paducah Symphony Orchestra have a concert. I mean, that park is like an overlooked gem in a way. And then the other thing I was going to ask is how much additional revenue is that tax going to bring in for the sports deal? Mr. Art, how much additional revenue?
It's not projected yet, but right around 1.2 million.
I think it's 1.2.
How much will that allow you to buy bonds?
The whole thing?
Yeah. I don't guess you know that then.
Not off the top of our heads.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all I have to say. See, I don't have any complaints today, just suggestions.
Great. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a pop-up putt-putt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that, Ron, but it does travel around to some of the different locations.
I think a lot of people there. That's why there'd be a lot of people that want here permanently.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
It is fun. All right, next up we have Matthew Gloria. I hope I got that right.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Very rarely can anyone pronounce my name.
All right. Did something right tonight.
Did. Well, I'd like to speak about the invocation that you had talked about earlier. Hassad Ali of the Islamic Center, was that your idea to bring him here to do the opening prayer?
Actually, it was a conversation I had with a few commissioners about having different leaders in our community come and pray. And like I said earlier, it was the Interfaith Council that I started
Did they know
with.
that he would be coming, or did you make that decision?
No, I don't think I told anyone ahead of time. Well, it's on the agenda like 6 days ahead of time.
Sure. So really, it was your decision. So I'd like to kind of address my comment towards you.
Sure.
I'd like to ask, are you a Christian? Do you mind me asking that? Do you consider
Wow.
yourself a Christian?
No one's ever asked me that in public before. I appreciate the question.
Well,
I do
sure,
consider myself a Christian.
Good, good. Well, I'd like to remind you of the first of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no other God before me, for the Lord your God is a jealous God. And I know that's kind of a strange statement. People think, God, jealous? You know, how can God be jealous? But I'm not sure if you're married or not.
I am.
You are. So if your
These
husband...
are very personal questions, sir.
I know.
I
I'm
don't know if
asking
this
you
is
a lot of
appropriate
questions.
for the commission. Why can't we have a meeting together and talk about this one-on-one? Why
Sure.
did you think you had to come here and do this in public?
Sure.
This is strange
I would like to
to
ask
me.
who you represent.
I don't understand why.
If your husband began to show affections for another woman, I believe you would become jealous.
I'm not
for
going to
your
have this
husband.
conversation with you directly. You can actually address the commission if you want to with your comments, but I'm not going
Sure.
to have this engagement
Fair
with you in
enough.
public.
Fair enough. So I believe that you would show jealousy for your spouse if they began to show affection for someone else. And that's the way God is, too. He's a jealous God. He does not want us to share our affections for anyone else. And Hassad Ali, who came and prayed several weeks ago, he did not pray to the Christian God. He prayed to another God, a God who has a different name. He has a different holy book. He tells those followers of his to slay the infidels wherever they're found. That God is an angry God, a God that encourages his believers to cut the heads off of those that will not convert. I think most people would probably know that. That God, the God Allah, he tells his people to throw homosexuals off of buildings. That is not the Christian God. That's not the God that has made this city great. That's not the God that has blessed America. See, we serve a different God. And so it really frustrates me when we invite someone to come in here and pray to a different God. And you know, my time is just about up. But if we want to see this city prosper and be blessed, then we need to make sure that we don't make the God who blessed this city jealous, because he is a jealous God. Thank you for your time.
I want to take the opportunity before we move on so that my name doesn't get pulled through the mud when it doesn't belong there. That, as I mentioned earlier, there is an interfaith council in Paducah. It has Baptist preachers, it has the Temple Israel, it has the Imam, it has other representatives from other Christian faiths in our community. So my intention, just so my commission and my fellow commissioners know, my intention was to demonstrate a diversity of our community. I had zero malintent here. This was me saying, I know there's a group of interfaith pastors that get together on a regular basis and do a lot of work together. And so I started there. So I just want my fellow commissioners to know that this was not me trying to be anything other than what I am, and that's fair. So I want to take that opportunity while I have it. Mr. Tom Simpson is here.
First thing I want to do is thank you all for all the time. I know y'all spend a lot of time, great amount of time, and I appreciate all the work that y'all do. But I do want to let you know that on what Matt said, I thought it kind of funny that we had this guy from Islam come and talk, and the veterans come. It was highly insulting to me because I had 3 of my buddies killed in Iraq. One of them was held POW for 4 years by a peaceful Islamic regime. But anyway, the first thing I want to do is read you Romans 13. It says, "Let every person be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God." So you sit in your seats because you got enough votes to be here, and because God put you in those seats. And when God puts you in those seats, you're going to be held responsible for decisions you make. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, it says, "Do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor adulterers, nor idolaters, nor men who practice homosexuality, nor thieves, nor greedy, nor drunkards, nor revelers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God." And I'm pretty sure that we're not going to be seeing any ordinances passed that is going to give special permission, special privileges to thieves or an adulterer. We're not going to see any special ordinances passed that's going to give special protection to drunks or swindlers. But we have passed the fairness ordinance that provides special privileges to homosexuals, which is a sinful behavior. And since God instituted, you will be held responsible for that. This is close to my heart because my son was assaulted by a homosexual pedophile in 2013. So I think what you've done, is not right. And I urge you to repent and repeal the fairness ordinance. Please.
All right, next up we have Alvin Moore here. Got 3 minutes, Alvin, just so you know.
Yes, ma'am. On July 30th, 2019 was the 63rd anniversary of the United States of America's motto, "In God We Trust." Our United States Declaration of Independence, 1776, the Articles of Confederation, 1781, and our Constitution, 1789, were the combined efforts of 204 believers. These combined 204 church members represented 11 Christian denominations. They adopted a separation of church and state to protect their freedom to worship God as they chose. Yet their faith was in the God of the Holy Bible. Noah Webster, who lived 1758 to 1843, is recognized as the father of the American scholarship and education. Mr. Webster said this of the Bible. He said, "The moral principles and precepts contained in the scriptures ought to form the basis of all of our civil constitutions and laws." He said that all the miseries and evil which men suffer from vice, crime, ambition, injustice, oppression, slavery, and war proceed from their despising or neglecting the precepts contained in the Bible. Congress on July 30th, 1956, unanimously adopted "In God We Trust" as the nation's motto. "In God We Trust" is proclaimed in our national anthem, our pledge to allegiance, rather. It is proudly displayed in our money. During the 1970s, the courts ruled that this was a secular phrase. That knowledge, Romans 1 says, is acknowledged by the creation. But the Bible also says that knowledge is not enough. That what we need is a spiritual relationship. And I'm not going to have time to read the whole thing. So I'll just stop right there.
Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, here. Thank you. Here, here.
All right, Russ Hobbs is next.
Did you say the name again?
Russ Hobbs.
I'd like to say thanks for allowing us to be here and wish y'all a good evening. And I appreciate all the efforts that you're doing, for this city and for our community, county, and the surroundings. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about what's the events coming up in the city, and I guess the Pride Festival, that I hope that it will be well supervised and not be disorderly or something that families wouldn't be able to come to the riverfront and things like that. It's important that we remember the Christians and the churches. A lot of our community members have spoken to me saying, you know, this is something that we don't appreciate and that we don't honor. And so I'd like for us to make sure that this is done in decorum and respect. And I'm sure that, you know, they'll have, you know, policemen there and that sort of thing. But let's remember how important it is to keep these kind of things out of our schools and libraries, and that we don't have something that's going to put our city down, and so just keep following the Bible in our things that we do. But y'all are doing a great job. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. All right, next up we have Gil Arterburn.
I think I gave Commissioner Abraham some basketball lessons in the Jatan gym a few times, but we'll talk about that later, executive session.
I don't remember that.
Appreciate y'all, commissioners, mayor. Somebody said that a man fights not because he hates what's before him, you or any of these people here the other night, but because he loves what's behind him. And so I brought my family here tonight. These are the precious reasons that I'm fighting for justice and righteousness in Paducah. The so-called fairness ordinance is a sharp spear dripping with the blood of injustice and oppression inflicted upon decent, peace-loving men and their families, men like me, families like some of ours across this land. These pernicious laws are antithetical to a healthy society. They are an attack on families, on the plain, objective, indisputable truth of who men and women and children are and what they were created to be. These unjust laws are an attack against the very foundation of civilization itself. Good and wise men throughout the ages have understood that a man and his family are the very foundation of any free society. This was the simple world I grew up in, and I've never outgrown it. God's Word, my own personal experience, as well as years of working with families and youth in the community have proven over and over again to me the extreme importance of children growing up in a healthy home with a mother, and most importantly, a strong father who will love and discipline and nurture and guide them. The daily, very heartbreaking news of drugs, sexual abuse, violence, anger, depression, and suicide are all the direct results of broken homes and fatherlessness, which results from turning away from our Father in heaven. But instead of turning our gaze upward and amending our ways that we might find forgiveness of our sins and healing for our tear-stained land, we purpose to pour on our nation's wounds the salt of sexual anarchy. Like lost people, drunk and homeless, we rummage around in a dumpster of genders and sexual orientations in order to find ourselves. Carelessly tossing aside generations of collective work and wisdom to build a city upon the unstable foundation of hatred for God's law, disrespect for our forefathers, sexual confusion, drag queen pageants, riots, shamefest, and other perverse shreds of rainbows is a fool's errand. King Jesus, in his Sermon on the Mount, delivered this stern warning. Everyone who hears these words of mine and acts upon them may be compared to a wise man who built his house upon the rock. And the rain descended and floods came and burst against that house, and yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like the fool who built his house upon the sand, and the rain came and floods and burst against it, and it fell, and great was its fall. Thank you.
All right, next up we have Randy Beeler.
May you indulge
me a minute to thank the commission before my 3 minutes start?
You can start at 3 minutes like everyone else did.
All right, I'll do it quickly. Thank you, Mr. Arndt, for overseeing the statue being complete. They did a nice job. Mr. Lynn did a nice job. Paducah Sun Democrat, 1909, May. Party arrives from New York to attend ceremonies at Confederate Circle tomorrow. Stars and bars of the Confederacy and Old Glory were on every hand today, and the business district presented a gay appearance in its decorations for the unveiling of the Tillman statue in Confederate Circle tomorrow at 3 o'clock. The city has been decorated extensively for unveiling, and tomorrow the entire city will take place in unveiling of the monument. The program will be carried out as announced. The parade will start at 2 o'clock and will reach the park shortly at 3 o'clock. Almost every automobile in the city will be in line as the owners of the cars have responded. The Tillman party arrived this morning from New York in a special car, and I'm not going to go through all the people. Many Confederate veterans will be in attendance at the unveiling exercises. Matter of fact, they come from everywhere. There was buttons. The buttons of the Confederacy will be a feature tomorrow. Every person in the city is expected to be decorated with one. Postcards containing a view of the monument are on sale at the bookstores. Houses brought back childhood and childhood thoughts. I'll just stop. With all them people come in for the Tillman statue, we're going to try to have a rededication. I don't know who I need to see to help us with it. I got a few minutes there. Thank y'all for getting our statue done. Mr. Mike Lynn is a tremendous guy, and on behalf of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, the Mechanized Cavalry, and the Daughters of the Confederacy, which they called me and asked me to thank y'all for what they've done. We're very proud of it. He did a heck of a job. By the way, Jaton was once Augusta Tillman High School. I remember that one too. Thank you, Mr. Arndt, because I understood you was hands-on over there. And I really would have liked to read all of that, but 3 minutes ain't gonna make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other comments from the commission tonight? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.